day. My name's Andy Torres. I'm the director at the American Embassy School, and I'm very, very happy to greet you for another webinar, this one today, focusing on our English as an additional language and learning support programs in our school. We've been trying to focus our programs on what is of interest to parents, and we've received many questions about these programs as we move forward toward our opening on August 4, which will begin online for approximately 3 weeks. We'll see how things go, but likely the 3 weeks will be spent preparing our students to enter our classrooms in on-campus programs or in hybrid model as we think about how to best meet our needs of our children during these very unusual time of COVID-19. In this webinar today, the chat will be disabled, but at the same time, we would like to hear from you, your questions. So we have at the bottom of the screen a Q&A button in which you can submit questions to us, our panel, which is all of our team and a few other people with whom you'll meet in just a few moments. The trick for submitting good questions is do just one question at a time. If you submit multiple questions in one box, we have a hard time managing all those questions effectively. So one question at a time, please. Most importantly, don't sit there and wonder about something. If you have a question, please do submit it in. Our team will be answering the questions throughout the time that the webinar is going on. And then at the end, you'll be able to see a full transcript of all the Q&A. At the heart of everything we do is around our mission. We've been talking a lot about how we can best meet the letter of our direction from our community, which is the joyful pursuit of excellence. That means not only in just academics, but also in the full body of the experience that our students have, including our online programs, which we're calling the AES Connected Classroom programs. We want to make sure that we're enabling our students to be an inspired, lifelong learner and responsible, compassionate global citizen. And so everything we do in all parts of our programs, no matter what, targets this move forward for our kids. I'm really happy to turn the microphone over to my colleague, Dr. Shirley Drosy, who'll tell you a little bit more about our programs. Shirley?
Thanks, Andy. As you can see, I'm the Director for Teaching and Learning, and this will be my 4th year at the American Embassy School. And it was during my first year that the school had already made a commitment to take a look at our students' needs and how we could strengthen what we do in our support services. And it was in our first and then going into my 2nd year when we developed as a broad task force this culture of belonging statement, because we wanted it to represent how we view including everyone in the community in a culture of belonging. And that means that we actively support their development and their growth, not just in academics, but socially, emotionally, and in other ways. So just know that the school has made a real serious commitment to our support programs and even to the staffing. So our staffing actually increased over the last couple of years. And last year was the first year that we had a director for this program who's really charged with overseeing the alignment of systems and programs and processes across the school. And that person this year is Mr. David Landis. So it's my pleasure to introduce David to you, and he will be telling you more about the program specifics. David?
Thank you so much, Shirley. First thing I'd like to say is I'm really super excited about being part of the AES community. This is a role for which I have great passion, and working with an incredible team of learning support specialists, EAL teachers, and counselors throughout this year. I thought maybe the first thing we'd want to do here is go over the agenda for today's session. We're going to cover the learning support First, we're going to talk about the philosophy. We're going to look at the lower school team, and we're going to review the services we provide. And then, after we move through learning support, we will turn our attention to the English as an additional language program. We're going to cover the basic philosophy and structure of the program across all three divisions, and then we will move systematically through the elementary school, the middle school, and the high school EAL program. And then we will have a period of just question and answer sessions with you all, the parents who joined us today. I thought it would be good to review the core values of AES. I think this really speaks volumes to how we operate as a school, and it certainly informs everything we do in student support services. You can see the highlights of our values here, that every individual has intrinsic value. They need safety, trust, respect. We teach responsibility. I love this idea that we believe young people, all people, live more meaningfully when they're pursuing his or her passions. And the last one is one of the most moving and profound ideas for me, and that is that we are really seeking to empower young people to see themselves as capable of creating a more peaceful world. So these values are really central to who we are and how we operate, and they inform everything we do. Also, when we think about learning support at AES, we employ a strategy called MTSS. It stands for Multiple Tiers of Student Supports. The idea is that all learning support at AES is integrated fully into classroom instruction in every area of the school. So you can think of learning support services really as having three tiers. The tier one is universal and for all students. That means that every student at AES is benefiting from best practices in terms of teaching and learning, strategies to make sure that all students can thrive. For those who are still struggling, we move to a tier two level of support, which is more targeted. It's directed towards small groups of students, sometimes individual students. And then for those students who need additional support beyond that, we have tier three. We also have core beliefs for the learning support program, student support services in general. And you can see those 5 core values there. It's student-centered. We as adults share the responsibility, and we collaborate together to make sure that students succeed. We aspire to always be clear and transparent in terms of the services we provide, what we can and cannot do. We offer our services on a continuum. You're going to hear our school psychologist talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. And we also believe in providing professional development for faculty to help them be better teachers and be better able to reach all students. This is a really useful slide. It gives you an overview by division of the different kinds of services that we provide at tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. I'm not going to read all of these here, but I think there's some real key things worth highlighting. One, you will see on this slide repeatedly the phrases co-planning and co-teaching. I think that's really an important concept for how we operate. It's a key way that we collaborate by planning together and working together to make sure that the lesson plans we deliver are well coordinated for all students. And you can see that at each division we have a range of strategies. We tailor those strategies to be appropriate to the developmental needs of children as they mature. So here's a quote that really motivates me when I think about student support services in general. The idea being that we should never compromise on what we believe a child is capable of achieving. And all of our work should be aimed or geared or focused on making sure that students reach their full potential, and that we never assume that that potential is limited in any fundamental or damaging way. Our goal is to celebrate the joyful pursuit of excellence. So at this point, I'm going to hand it over to Miss Katie Tesreau. She is our school psychologist, a familiar face at AES, and she's going to talk a little bit more about learning support at our school.
Thank you, David. Over the past several years, AES has taken steps to be a more inclusive school. What I love about this is there is really a recognition that students need different things in order to learn. Like David said, support is student-centered, meaning that students can receive different levels of support in various areas that they may need it. So some students may need accommodations in a classroom setting that could include things like extra time or repeated directions, something that a classroom teacher would just work into what they are doing in a classroom. At other times, students really need specially designed instruction in certain areas. It could be in the areas of academics, behavior, social emotional skills, or speech and language. But we offer this continuum of services because we want to support students at an appropriate level. When students are able to access instruction appropriately, it really builds their sense of confidence and their engagement with tasks, and it also helps them build skills they need to move on to the next grade level. Next slide, please. Thank you. At AES, we have teams that work with students. One team is the student support team. This team meets weekly, divisionally, to support students, and we talk about students' strengths and needs. We plan interventions for them and monitor their progress. It's a problem-solving team that meets together, and teachers are able to share strategies, come up with new ideas, and just support students in a better way. They're also able to check back in and see how students are progressing over time. The student support team isn't just for students receiving learning support. It can include students in EAL or any student at the school, but we want to take a focused effort in identifying what students need in order to learn best. Most students who are on either a learning support plan or accommodation plan have been evaluated either in the school or outside of the school, really in order to clarify their learning needs and just to be able to better support them. What students need changes over time, and so learning support teachers typically meet with parents at least once a year to talk about goals for the upcoming year and what instruction will look like. And get information from you as parents so we can better understand the needs of your students. Next slide, please. Here you can see our elementary learning support team. We have a teacher at every grade level. Pre-K and kindergarten is shared by one. We also have a speech and language therapist. Next slide, please. Here's our middle school learning support team and our high school learning support team. Next slide. We value communication. So if you have any questions about your child's learning support services, if your child is already on a formal plan, please contact the learning support teacher. They are there to support you, to gain a better understanding of what your student needs. Sometimes teachers and parents see needs as being really similar, and other times they're different. Either way, we gain information from you and can work with your student better as we understand their needs. If your child has undergone an evaluation outside of the school setting, I would love to be able to review that information and pass it along to the team in order to support your student better. And if you have concerns about your child's learning, but they're not on a formalized plan yet, please reach out. Either your child's teachers or counselor would be happy to talk with you just to gain a better understanding of your concerns. I will pass it back over to David.
Thank you, Katie. Let me see if I can get to the next slide here. Yeah, just to reiterate, sorry, I'm having trouble controlling the slides. Yes, to reiterate what Katie said, we are here for you as parents. We understand what it's like to be a parent. We really want to connect with you and make sure that you are feel confident about the work that we're doing with your children. So please don't be shy to reach out to us if you have questions about the Learning Support Program. I think at this point, we're going to shift our attention over to the English as an Additional Language program. I thought it would be great to start the conversation off by just highlighting some of the key ideas in our philosophy statement. The full philosophy statement is in the EAL manual. But there are some key concepts here I thought that were worth highlighting. One is that we really value the multilingual capabilities of English language learners. We believe that they bring cultural diversity and a richness of ideas to our community, and our EAL program seeks to highlight that and celebrate it in intentional ways. We aim to support English language learners academically, emotionally, and socially. So our attention on ELLs, as they're called, is not just academic. We're educating the whole child. And then, as you've heard throughout this webinar so far, collaboration is really important in terms of how we operate as a school. This is certainly true with the English as an additional language program. EAL teachers are constantly working in partnership with all teaching faculty. So the purpose, or one purpose of this webinar, is to address EAL in a connected classroom and to reassure families that we are being very thoughtful and intentional about how we move EAL instruction into an online environment for the first 3 weeks of school, or as long as is necessary. And so, we thought it would be good to go over some of the core principles or components of our EAL program, which will be maintained in the connected classroom model. One is that we support students, focused language classes, integrated support in content classrooms. That will still continue, and that we will continue to support teachers, working with them in planning lessons and making sure that methods of instruction meet the needs of all learners. And we will continue to have outreach to families. One important thing we're really going to be intentional about is having check-ins with you as parents of students in the EAL program, reaching out to you to make sure that things are going well in the home and that your children are feeling engaged and confident about their AES experience. There are 5 domains in our language learning program: reading, writing, speaking, listening, and then more importantly, the social, emotional, and cultural connections. I think from what we've been reading about delivering EAL instruction online, this social, emotional, and cultural connection becomes even more important in an online environment. So at this point, I'm going to hand things off to Ms. Shafali, no stranger at AES, and she is going to talk about the elementary school EAL program.
Parents, a very warm welcome to all of you. I'm Shafali, and this will be my 8th year teaching at AES. I have to say that it is such a privilege to be a part of and represent a team that is so dedicated to providing an enriching experience to all learners. I'd like to start off by introducing our team to you. Our team has Archana Luther, who will be supporting grade 1, Shannon Ligon supporting grade 2, Derek Swat supporting grade 3, Kaylee Thompson grade 4, and I will be working with grade 5. We are also very fortunate to be supported by a team of highly qualified and experienced teaching assistants in Chandni Sharma, Lydia Mendes, and Shilpa Aberol. To give you an overview of our program in the elementary school, let me start by saying that we offer support in 3 ways. First, we offer a beginner class. This is a class that is offered to students who are absolutely new to English language. Instruction is often provided to students in a very small group setting that promotes motivation and risk-taking, and both of these are really crucial to student learning. We also, all EL students also attend a world language English class. The focus of this class is academic language development, using the grade level curriculum to develop language. This class also focuses on offering students multiple opportunities to practice and grow in all 4 language domains. In addition to these focused language instruction classes, all EL teachers also support content area teachers by co-planning and co-teaching lessons with them. All EL teachers and homeroom teachers also co-assess students and regularly co-reflect so that we are refining our practices to meet the needs of all students. I know you must be wondering that our priorities for in-person experience and online instruction might not be the same, but I want to assure you that our priorities are exactly the same. Number one is the most important thing for us is to create a culture of belonging, because we all know that every individual has intrinsic value, and it is important for everybody in our class and community to feel valued. We also recognize that students learn differently, so we try and offer choice and multiple pathways in the way students might access content. We continue to provide support to students through frequent check-ins, and those can be in one-on-one, small group, and whole class meetings. At AES, we also recognize that opportunities for self-reflection, goal setting, and using feedback to raise the level of our work are extremely integral to our approach. And all EAL teachers are really intentional about creating those opportunities for our students. I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Jennifer Henderson, who will talk to you more about the middle school program.
Thanks, Shefali. So my name is Jennifer Henderson, and I am a middle school teacher. I'm also a parent of a middle schooler. And that has been an important part of the way I've been really thinking about how we are servicing and supporting all of our students right now. I'm excited to introduce you to our new middle school EAL team. There's a few new faces here that I'd like to introduce you to. Mr. Michael Kim will be joining us this year, and Megan Vosk. Now, Megan Vosk is not new to the middle school. She's been a 7th grade social studies and MUN teacher in the past, but she's new to our EAL department. And then we also have Miss Amy and Miss Barty, and they are an integral part of the way that we support our students and our teachers and our EAL program. So I'm really excited about our team this year. I'd like to talk a little bit now about what we do in the middle school EAL program, and then I will talk a little bit about how we do it both in person and online. So the what is similar to what Shefali shared about the elementary school. We have two main ways that we support our language learners in the middle school. The first way is through a English language development class, and that is a special class that is really designated for language learners. And in that class, we have some small group opportunities where we're really focusing on building language together. It's an important space to really create community and develop those safe relationships so that we, as a group and as students, feel comfortable taking risks and really developing language. The other piece that's really important in our ELD class is that we focus on individual students. Students are different, and we all have different areas of strength and different areas we want to work on. And so in that ELD class, we can focus on really kind of what people need individually. So in addition to the ELD class, our EAL team supports across all the content areas. And so our EAL teachers are collaborating with content area teachers like science teachers and math teachers and social studies teachers. And it really actually looks many different ways. Sometimes we're planning with them and developing lessons that are really accessible for our language learners. And sometimes we're actually in the classroom delivering a lesson or providing support. And sometimes we're taking that information and that teaching outside of those classrooms and providing additional support. But the idea here is that we are all working together as a team to support all of our students. The how we work, I've been thinking a lot about this lately and talking to my teammates. And in some ways, I think we've become more committed to our core beliefs around what's important about EAL and language instruction. Because what is true in the classroom is true online. We really have put a big emphasis and priority on that community and sense of connection across our students. We're really thinking about how to maximize and strengthen language, and that comes a lot through those small group working opportunities and individualized support. So online, that might take the shape of a breakout room, whereas in person, it might take when we're teaching in person, it might take the place of a small different area where we're working with each other. Once again, those relationships, those peer relationships, as a way to address language, but also to really develop and address the social, emotional, and the cultural pieces we've been talking about. Thinking about all the language domains we want to support, so reading, writing, speaking, and listening, and ensuring that we're hitting all of those, whether we're online or in person. Back again to that social emotional learning. EAL teachers know, all teachers know, that if students don't feel safe and connected and seen, that language learning, all learning is very difficult. So one of our first attempts is to address that need. And then looking at the importance of home language and culture, as we're really doing a lot of learning and living from home right now. And once again, back to the family, it's through the partnerships of parents and families and then students that we all can grow together and really kind of celebrate our successes together. So that's it for the middle school, and I'm going to now turn you over to Dr. Mary Catherine Frazier in the high school.
I'm Dr. Mary Catherine Frazier. I'm the high school ELD specialist. And I just wanted you to know that it's been a great privilege to work at AES for the past 10 years. And in the past 10 years, we've gone through tremendous changes in our school. And I think AES now, with Dr. Drowsy joining us 3 years ago and bringing in our inclusion model, is the best we've ever been. Because it's at this juncture that we get to honor now diversity at its best. And we have academic inclusion techniques and approaches that actually include all people at an equitable level. So it's my honor today to get to introduce, the next slide please. It's to get to introduce who is at our high school. And the who at our high school is that this year we are I'm very excited to have Zaina El-Hadi join us as a literacy EALD co-teacher. This is, as Dr. Drowsy said, we've added new positions throughout the last 3 years. This will be our 4th year in inclusion to help us better serve the diverse needs of our learners. And adding this component with Zaina is most exciting. I'll continue with the ELD specialists and be supporting with the students in what we call a sheltered kind of immersion of a classroom. I'm going to talk to you about the 2 programs, the how and the what, the how that we do now. And the what and the how consist of 2 aspects. We have the goal is, of course, to teach academic to have our students to be academic successes at the high school. Therefore, they have to know academic English in order to be success there. And so it means that we have a capacity to help our students by knowing them and knowing their emotional needs and their social needs and their cultural identities. So this is a very important aspect of our program, is academic success while supporting the whole child and the whole student. So our program is divided into 2. And as you've seen, we have the ELD classes and then we have the collaborative classes. And our ELD classes, as you can see, they build bridges between the school and the home. And this is where it's very important for you on virtual, is that you will be helping very much at home, because our ELD classes, actually, we develop skills and strategies to adapt to the content area, but at the same time, we use the students' first academic language to help them to better acquire their second academic language in English. So this becomes a very supportive role that you as families will play and as parents. And we appreciate it, because this is what's been proven so far on the virtual journey that we have had since April, is that the students have gotten tremendous support from their parents at home. And this is a very big plus. That's what makes this whole connection possible, and it helps bridge the gap that we need between our classroom and you at home. We also have a bridge that takes place with collaborative practices. And these collaborative practices go into co-teaching and co-planning. And as you saw, Ms. Zaina Al-Hadi will be specifically supporting that and with her role, because she'll be co-teaching with English 9 and English 10, and she'll also be offering English 11 and English 12. And they will be also IB language supports help as well. And this, again, is a new service that we are providing at the high school. So Ms. Zaina will be doing the co-teaching and co-planning for the 4th grade levels. I'll be doing the ELD in a smaller group setting in the sheltered immersion. And that will lend itself to having more small, intimate connections. And the consultancy and the coaching part of our collaboration model, Ms. Sahadi and myself will be assuming both of those roles. We will serve as consultancy, which means that we speak to content core teachers, and we provide suggestions how our students can be successful on short-term projects and help with upcoming assessments. So we will both be doing that with, I'll be helping that in the area of social studies and in science. And also we provide the 3rd C of our collaborative support model is coaching. And the coaching involves working with content areas and departments on a longer term basis than just the consultancy. In the coaching role, we hope that we can actually work one-to-one with teachers so closely that some of the strategies that we teach them for scaffolding and for working on special techniques that help children have access to the classroom become ways of teaching for them. So we hope with our coaching that our content area teachers will also become ELD teachers or helping our EAL teachers. And so with this, I'd like to say thank you. I want you to know at the high school we have an open door policy, and you're always welcome to contact us. At this point, I'd like to pass it on to Dr. Landis, Mr. Landis.
Thank you so much. Just a few closing comments. I think you heard very consistent themes across all 3 divisions about how we are really going to work hard to connect with students, especially in this online environment. We really want to hear from you, and we want to be connected to you and to really foster communication that is open and productive as we work to support your students. So at this point, we're going to move into the Q&A. See if I can move. Yep. So this is just a slide to reiterate what I just said. We look forward to meeting your students and the families very, very soon. And at this point, we're going to move into the Q&A. So if you have questions for us, please enter them in the Q&A section as Dr. Torres explained to us in his welcome, and we will respond. Okay, so we're now moving into the Q&A section. We've had a couple of questions submitted so far. One in particular that I really think we should speak to as a group and sort of weigh in on. Mr. Megad asks a question about inclusion and expressing some concerns that in the EAL program, sometimes students feel a little singled out or a little they don't feel that sense of belonging that we really want to promote in the AES community. We are aware of this. I think for any EAL program in any school, this is always a challenge. And we are putting some things in place at the start of this year, especially with the connected classroom, to specifically address this concern. So I sort of have 3 things that I would share. And then if any of the other panelists want to chime in on this topic, I think that would be more than appropriate. One thing we are doing, if you watched yesterday's webinar, we are engaging our counselors very intentionally across all 3 divisions to right out of the gate with the connected classroom, reach out to students and families and really work to intentionally build a culture of belonging and to build trust and community within the AES school. We are also continuing to develop and promote the co-teaching model and the co-planning model. I think that's an important way of creating peer relationships for all students. We also blend that with small group support for EAL students and one-on-one support. And finally, I think we are really going to be intentional this year in the EAL program to reach out early and build connections with students and families as well. So regular check-ins with families to make sure that the experience you're having is the one that you want and that your children feel happy and supported in the program. So that was my thought. Team, do you all have anything you would like to say to that topic?
I would just add that I do think it's the work of the whole school, and it's really working with all of the students. And with this understanding that we all, like we talked about earlier, we all have different strengths and areas that we need to focus on. And as we work towards more inclusive practices, it's working as a community and a group, identifying what are those areas for people, and they may look the same and they may look differently. And so that is something that we continue to reinforce, and we do it kind of throughout the year, and we'll definitely start off strong at the beginning of the year talking about this very thing.
Yeah. Charles?
I would also like to add that, we do continuously teach and guide our students in the concepts of inclusion and the value of diversity. And sometimes as teachers and administrators, we can address something that we don't know about. So I also think it's important that as a community, we support our students, as our kids, as our students, that if they're feeling that way, they need to reach out to their parent, to a teacher that they trust or have a relationship with, or a counselor or an administrator. Because until we know about it, till we know that that student actually feels that way, it's difficult for us to support them in the way that they may need in that moment. Clearly these things happen. We do everything we can to build the right culture, but we certainly want to be aware so that as it's taking place or as that student's beginning to feel that way, we can support them as early as possible.
Yeah, that's great. Any other thoughts on building a culture of inclusion and belonging? It's such an important topic for AES. Yes, Mary Catherine.
Thank you. I'd like to add to that in the past 3 years, by making our model with inclusion, there's been a very improved state of mind for children, because they see, and combining EAL with support services and making us one department, that they don't see a separation anymore. And by being a co-teacher, we're in the classroom with everybody. So now, now it's really cool, because they don't feel singled out. They see us in in their content classrooms. They see us interacting with all the other social studies kids in their class. And so they feel more integral now that we are in a co-teaching model. They don't feel pulled out and isolated like they used to. And this is 100% improvement. So I want to commend our school on making those strides in that direction.
Great, and we will continue to refine that practice, this year and in the years ahead. So we're really excited about that. Let's see, I'm looking through the other questions here. I think most of these we can answer with a typed response. We do have a great question from Mr. Kwan, asking, how will both middle school and high school students who are currently staying in another country interact with teachers and other students over online classes? And are EAL classes mostly in synchronous or asynchronous? So, we've had a lot of discussion about class schedules and ways to coordinate that with students who are in different time zones. We've got a lot of different strategies we're deploying over divisions. Jenny, you want to take that question?
Yes, I would add that we are really going to maximize that synchronous time and create opportunities especially for all students, but especially our language learners, because we see the synchronous or the live classroom time as very important for the connection with other students and for the opportunities to speak and communicate with teachers. And so there will be opportunities both with class, but also additional time after that. And then, of course, there's also content and other learning that can happen kind of in different ways. But that we will definitely be maximizing that time.
Yeah, that's great, Jenny. And Nada, you want to say a few words, sort of from a whole school perspective about managing schedules and synchronous and asynchronous?
Absolutely. I think that my name is Nada Collins, Dr. Nada Collins, and I'm the Deputy Director at the American Embassy School. This is my first year in this role, but I have been with this school for 4 years. We've paid a lot of attention to this, and we've learned a lot from the past few months as we've looked at how to best launch our program to ensure that we are supporting our students all over the world. And AES is becoming very much a global school as we move forward. And we are committed to ensuring that our students all have equitable access. One of the things that we found is really effective with our students who are our EAL students is making sure that we are, and our learning support students, making sure that we're giving them lots of opportunity to have some smaller group or individual times, grouping the students who might be in the same time zone or might be near them, so they do have that opportunity to get the additional support. We know for many of our families, our EAL students might be sitting at home with parents and siblings who also aren't necessarily in the best position to support them with some of the learning. And so having to access the content completely online, we know that even just to access the content for any of their content, any of their subject areas, the students are going to need that level of support. So putting those extra steps in, making sure that we give them the support they need, while it may look very different for students in different time zones, we're committed to making sure that without staying up, unreasonably late at night or getting up unreasonably early in the morning, that we are providing for our students all over the world with a combination of synchronous and asynchronous.
Yeah. Thank you, Nada. And we're going to continue to refine this approach, as we get the Connected Classroom program up and running. We do want to get feedback from parents and feedback from students about how it's going. And one thing I would mention that we've talked about a lot is the Connected Classroom is, in our mind, a means to an end. It's a way to build community and look forward to the moment when we are all back on campus at AES again. And that is the vision. That is what we are working towards. So at this point, we have no open questions. Dr. Torres, would you like to say a few words to close us out here?
Yeah, thank you, David. Thank you, everyone, for joining us my morning, probably your evening or afternoon. We are planning 3 additional webinars next week for our elementary school, our middle school, and our high school programs. These are going to be more in-depth and specific around our opening plans, how teachers are going to be interacting with students in our online environment, and ultimately how the schools are planning to ramp up their instruction as we move to a planned on-campus program later on in the month of August. I know there's a lot of questions still out there. We're working very hard to put some very, very firm and specific plans in place. And as you can imagine, the details are significant. Also, I want to point out in front of you the tremendous depth of experience and quality of the professionals that work at AES. One of the things that has struck me as I have joined this organization, how much quality, knowledge, experience, and passion that these people bring to the work that they do with your children. And as a parent myself, I'm buoyed by the comfort that I have with my kids being part of this organization. So thank you so much for joining us. David, the learning support team, the English as an additional language team, very well done this morning. I really appreciate all of your hard work. And we look forward to greeting everyone in the days to come.
Thank you. Have a wonderful evening, afternoon, morning, whatever may be the case.